All right, the draft is over for the Falcons. I think it's still going as we speak, as I record this. But the draft is over for the Falcons. They don't have a seventh round pick, and we're going to go through all the picks, and we're going to talk about the front office because I just watched the press conference, so I can get all the information how I feel about these picks, as well as what the front office says, so I can react to that as well. So, I want to let you guys know, in my opinion, this turned out to be a very good draft for the Falcons. Everybody want to talk about the first pick, the Michael Penix pick. Everybody want to talk about that. But when you look at everything else they done after that, was absolutely, it was absolutely great. Like every pick's not going to be a home run, but based on what they needed, maybe outside of cornerback, but we'll get to the cornerback situation, a little bit later in the video. But outside of that, I think they've done a very good job of drafting players that they needed and players that they wanted. So let's talk about this. The Michael Penix thing, I done did 2 videos on that. You know how I feel about it. I'm not a big fan of actually making the pick, but getting him is absolutely awesome. I mean, and that's one thing as well. The front office, Terry Fontenot said that if it wasn't Michael Penix, they wouldn't have went to get a quarterback at number 8. They basically wanted Michael Penix, which I think that is awesome. He is a team that is a team that wanted him, and I think the way they're going to handle this, absolutely phenomenal. I think they're going to do a really good job of working this out to the point where it works out for Penix, Cousins, and the team. The only way I see is if it's a disaster, if one of the 3 parties are not necessarily on board, and the way the front office is presenting this, and the way we see with Michael Penix, the way he was talking, it seemed like it's going to be a really good situation. Now, Kirk Cousins, I feel all he has to do is just play ball, and he should be fine as well. So Michael Penix, you're looking down the road, great pick. I think it's going to work out either way. Either Kirk Cousins balls out and Michael Penix comes in and play. Either way, I think it'll work out. But I think it's awesome. The next pick they had was Rook or Hororo. I think I said that right. Or Horo out of Clemson. I think this is a really good pick because we need pass rush. And I think this is one of the guys that could play all across the line. It's not just a defensive tackle. And I think this is one thing that even our last defensive coordinator tried to do, or even Dean Pease, what they try to do is get guys on the front 7 that can do a little bit of everything. And you're starting to see that with Rook. It looks like that Raheem Morris basically wants a guy who can move all over the place. And they had an extra 3rd round pick to move up to get him. Now, would he still been there at 43? I don't know. These guys in the front office, they know something that we don't. All I know is once Rook got off the board, a whole bunch of other defensive tackles started coming off the board. I think like 4 or 5 came off the board almost right after, if not right after, Rook was picked. Now, I think he's going to be a pretty good fit. And you also have to understand, and I don't really want to get too deep into this part, but a defensive-minded, I ain't going to say he's defensive-minded because he's been on both sides of the ball, but Raheem Morris has been one of these guys that took talent that was in the later rounds and turned them into really good players. Look at what the Rams did with their last couple of, I ain't say last couple, but with the draft last year. Some guys that we didn't even know about end up being very productive. So I feel like a guy like Raheem Morris, if they bringing guys in like this, I think you can lean on it a little bit. It doesn't have to be the Dallas Turner. It can't be the Latu like I want it to be because they wanted Michael Penix. But with that being said, I kind of trust what they're doing based on the track record that he had already. Now, when you look at the next pick, the pick at 74, Braylon Trice. Now, I think this is probably the best pick value-wise that the Falcons made. Braylon Trice, let me tell you something about this kid. This kid is very, very productive. He had numbers nearly like off the charts, nearly like a Latu, and you get him at 74. I mean, this is first round talent you're getting right now. And this is not like, we thought that, and I don't want to really compare the two. It's not like you're getting Desmond Ridder in the 3rd round because Desmond was kind of slated to be late first round, early second round type of player, but that was based on, the depth of the quarterback position in that year. But no, you're literally getting first round talent. You're literally getting first round talent for in the third round. I think this is going to be an extremely good player for the Falcons. Jimmy Lake, he coached him at Washington. He knows the system. He's going to know what they want of him. He's going to know how to execute what they want of him. And I'm not going to say he's going to be one of these rookie of the year candidates, but I feel like he's going to be a guy that does exactly what the team wants, and he's going to be just as productive as the team want him to be. I think this is a phenomenal pick. Braylon Trice is a great pick. Now, we went with another defensive lineman at pick 109, Brandon Dorlus. Another guy that I'm surprised that he fell. Looked like he could have been a second rounder. Played at Oregon. I watched some of the games when he played, when they played at Oregon, because I was trying to look at what Bo Nix could do. This kid was getting after Michael Penix like crazy. That offensive line of Washington could not hold him. He was getting all over the place. Another guy that can be all across the board and absolutely raise a lot of havoc for the offensive lineman. So you got three guys that's going to be around that front seven, not around that front seven, not just around that front seven, but around that the box where they're going to be coming after the quarterback in all areas. So you already got Grady, you already got Onyemata, you already got, all these other linebackers that are here, and you bring in these three guys already. Look, you can say what you say about the Michael Penix pick. I get it. But one thing we needed was pass rush, and they absolutely answered the call to that. Now, we're going to talk about cornerback a little bit later. I'll get into that because I know that's another thing that people are talking about, but we'll talk about that. 143, we jump to a linebacker, J.D. Bertrand. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this pick. This is a great look just on the surface, but I'm going to tell you something under the surface. J.D. Bertrand is from, not Kennesaw, goodness, I'm thinking about Justin Fields. He's from Alpharetta, which is, maybe 20 miles up, 400. When you, no, I ain't going to say 20 miles up. Well, I'll say maybe 10, 20 miles up 400 from downtown Atlanta. Let me tell you something about this guy right here. Great motor, kind of small, but the fact that he's from here and he come home to play, may not be a starter, but what's special about him, he could be a leader, and I would not be surprised if he takes the place of Nate Landman or Troy Anderson within the next 1 or 2 years. Nate Landman is on a 1-year contract. You bring Bertrand in to continue to lead on to what you got. Because I believe Nate Landman is going to ball out once again. And at that point, he may be too rich for us to keep. This is a very good insurance policy to have, kind of similar to the Penix situation, but on defense. But when you look at this player right here, I think this is another guy I feel like how I felt with Nate Landman when he was undrafted and brought in. Nate Landman could easily be that guy that could be getting a big payday in the next year or so. But I feel like with J.D. Bertrand, you still have that balance to say we could pay Nate Landman if need be to a 3-4 year deal. But if it doesn't work out, if another team won him, like a Foye Oluokun, everybody remembers that. If you have a Foye Oluokun situation, you got somebody in waiting with J.D. Bertrand. So I think this is an excellent pick for a guy who can actually, make a difference, or not necessarily make a difference, just continue what you're doing in that front seven. You also have Troy Anderson, who could be another guy that they may switch out with J.D. Bertrand after this year. But you also have Caden Ellis as well. You got Zoe. You got a lot of guys in this front seven that's absolutely awesome. I just don't understand it. People want to talk about this Michael Penix thing, but what the Falcons have done in this draft was absolutely solid. Very good. Pick 186 was kind of a surprise to me. Jace McClellan out of Alabama. Don't get me wrong. I like the fact that this kid can run the ball. You got Bijan Robinson and you have, Tyler Algier. Now, what this tells me, it tells me two things. One, Jace McClellan could be a guy. He could be a guy that play a lot of special teams. Could be. Or you could flip it around. Bijan Robinson, even though you got Avery Williams and Ray McLeod, you still can see those guys do a little bit of special teams. Jason McClellan could also, which I'm not really sure about this, he could be taking the place of, what's his name? Cordell Patterson. Now, this is going to be a totally different offense, so I don't know how that plays out. But don't be surprised. Don't be surprised in the art of competition that this guy comes for one of these guys' job when it comes to Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier. Do I think he's going to take Bijan Robinson's job? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Tyler Algier, he's a different type of running back. Do you think that's going to happen? I don't think so either. But it's going to be somewhat of a competition there. Do you keep all three running backs? If Jason McClellan plays very well, you're probably not going to keep all three. And at the end of the day, if I really had to pick, I think you'll probably end up having a Bijan and a McClellan. No disrespect to Tyler Algier, but it's just all about the depth of what you want. Maybe you can leave, all three on the table. Not against it. Maybe Avery Williams drops off. You just never know. It's just a lot there. Now, pick 187 is a pick that I think this is probably going to be the absolute steal. Now, people could say that Trice was the steal, but what I will say is I think this is the absolute steal for the Atlanta Falcons. Casey Washington, wide receiver out of Illinois, 6'2", 200 pounds. He doesn't have to do much. He really don't. You got these other receivers that came in, Mooney, you got Moore, you got Ray McLeod. You bought those guys in. This is the quarterback. This is the wide receiver that has more size, and Ray's not necessarily a guy that you want to put at wide receiver number 2. This guy right here, if he does everything he's supposed to do, Casey Washington could easily be a number 2 guy if he can live up to what Zach Robinson and them want to do. He's very, very, he's very, very compatible with what Zach Robinson wants to do on offense. I mean, you got to think of somewhat like now I know this is going to be like kind of crazy to think, but I want you guys to really think about it. Cooper Kupp size or Cooper Kupp type of player, Puka Nuka, I can't say his name right, but the guy that they drafted last year, he could be one of these guys that can make a way for himself where he could be the opposite of Drake London. You put Mooney, who could still be number 2, put him in the slot, or you could also turn around and put, what's the other guy? Well, like I said, Mooney in the slot, and you could have a really big problem in a 3 wide receiver slot situation. And, you really got, and then you still got Pitts at tight end, so you're going to have like 4 pass catchers out there. You put Bijan in the backfield, you put Tyler Algier, that could mix things up if you want to run the rock between the tackles because it's going to spread people out. Also, what about Jason McClellan? What do you do with that? I mean, he's a guy that can run the ball. He's a pretty good runner. So, listen, guys, before I get to the last pick, I'm going to talk about this as well. Listen, guys, I know everybody wanted to talk about getting a cornerback or whatever the case may be, and I said I was going to talk about that. Cornerback is somewhat of a need. I will agree. But I talked about, the front office talked about this in the press conference. They said they feel confident with what they got, but they're going to still be looking at options all the way up to week 1, probably even further than that. They're going to look at options at the cornerback position and see if it plays out for them. And the thing about that is they feel like they have the confidence to actually run the type of defense that they have with AJ Terrell, what's his name, Clark Phillips, who else they named? The other guy, D. Alford, all the guys who they named at corner, they feel confident with what they have. But I got to be honest, they're going to be looking for somebody else. I believe that. They're going to find somebody, whether it be depth or whatever. If they're going to work on Clark Phillips to make sure that he could be CB number 2 or whatever the other guys who they have. And that's okay. Because I believe at the end of the day, with this front 7 that they got, they're going to make the secondary a lot easier. There's no quarterback. I ain't going to say there's no quarterback. Quarterbacks going to have a really hard time just sitting back there looking at the secondary at what they could think, who they think they could throw the ball to, when you're going to have like maybe at the minimum 3 guys that could probably beat some offensive linemen and coming after the quarterback. You look at these other picks, And I'm gonna talk about Zion from Georgia in a second. You look at Bertrand, you look at Dorless, you look at Price, you look at I don't want to say his name, Ororo. You look at those guys. And I didn't even talk about the rest of the guys here. The Grady Jarrett's of the door, Onyemata, Sweat. No, it wasn't Contavious. I think it's Contavious Sweat. He was just picked up on a free agent thing. So you have a lot going on here to the point where the secondary is going to be fine. They're going to be fine, in my opinion. I really believe that. Yes, son. Yes, son. Right. So now at the end, we're going to talk about Zion Logue from Georgia. Yeah. He finished. He was the last pick at 197. I think this is more of a depth situation, kind of similar to what it was last year when they got the last Georgia offensive lineman. This defensive tackle is going to be more of a hold on, son. He's going to be more of a depth person. And with that being said, it's nothing wrong with that either. And I do think they could have went with a cornerback. Yeah, they could have went with a cornerback. But at the end of the day, I just really feel that it's just more depth because they love that front seven. You have to understand, this is what Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake want. They want that front seven. Jimmy Lake said this, and I'm going to get up out of here. Jimmy Lake said this earlier in his press conference or in his Q&A. The best way to get the offense off their heels is stopping the run. And they just got all these guys. So at the end of the day, they've done everything that you wanted them to do. They feel confident with their secondary, which is fine. But at the end of the day, outside of the Michael Penix pick was kind of weird. I understand what they're doing. And the rest of this draft class was absolutely great. Absolutely great. Let me know what y'all think. I'm going to get up out of here. My son is here. Look at this knucklehead boy. Do you see him? See this knucklehead boy right here? Yeah. He wants to get on the mic. Maybe one day he'll be a YouTuber one day. Yes. But nevertheless, I'm going to get up out of here. And I'll see y'all guys on the next one. Let me know what y'all guys think. Yes. And I'll talk to y'all next time. Like, share, subscribe. I'm out. Peace. Bye.